It is now my honor and pleasure to present the National Guild's 2020 Service Award. The award is offered annually for exceptional service to the National Guild and the community arts education movement. This year's most deserving recipient is Carol Ross, who has been my colleague and mentor since we met in 2003 through her affiliation with the Neighborhood Music School in New Haven. Carol's extraordinary intelligence, grace, strength, wisdom, generosity, as well as her fine and often wicked sense of humor have helped propel the Guild forward. On behalf of the Guild, I want to express our deepest appreciation for Carol's 14 years of service as a dedicated and extremely hardworking trustee for the National Guild, including 8 years as a chair of the board and also longtime chair of the Development Committee. The Guild and the entire field of community arts education have benefited by her steadfast service. We have been so fortunate that she chose to share her unique talents with us for so many years. After stepping down as a term trustee, Carol was appointed trustee emerita. The Guild has not been the only beneficiary of Carol's service. I urge you to read her biography, where you can learn about the enormous range and depth of her service. She is past president and board member of the Neighborhood Music School and has served on numerous boards, including the Advisory Council of the Women's Health Research Center at Yale and the Center for Independent Study and the New Haven Symphony. In 2012, Carol received the New Haven Arts Council's C. Newton Schenck Third Lifetime Achievement Award for support of the arts. And in 2015, there are many other things that her bio does not mention. I do want to say that, that Carol, in addition to being an extremely avid gardener, she is an active participant and student of the arts, including a longtime study of piano and recorder. I was introduced to Carol at a Guild conference by Larry Zukoff, the director of the Neighborhood Music School. Larry had previously told me that Carol was someone I should meet and believed he could be very helpful to the Guild. There was something about the way he said it, along with a certain knowing look, that made me take his recommendation very seriously. What followed transformed the Guild. The next year, Carol joined the board, and within 2 years, she was elected board chair. During those years, the Guild experienced a dramatic turnaround, growing and changing in exciting ways. In addition to leading the board and expanding its role in resource development, Carol became an invaluable partner to me as I began to learn how to work with a board and other essential duties of an ED. Among the many accomplishments during Carol's tenure were a significant fundraising campaign and implementation of a new strategic plan, the complicated transition away from a membership program built around certification toward a more open and inclusive one, a rebranding and name change, significant institutional growth, and the launch of yet another fundraising effort, our recently completed leadership development campaign. Carol is generous, empathetic, gracious, and extremely smart, possessed of a lively and open mind. She's a wonderful communicator and teacher, which are no doubt skills she developed through her 35 years spent teaching Latin in secondary schools. She works hard and carefully. However, her methodical style is complemented by her willingness to take risks and move forward with ideas that she believes in. But above all else, Carol is wise. She has great knowledge, experience, and deep understanding, as well as a tolerance for the uncertainties of life. And her wonderful, and at times self-deprecating sense of humor is an essential component of her wisdom. No doubt she would agree with the great sage, Dr. Seuss, who said, "Humor has a tremendous place in this sordid world. It's more than just a matter of laughing. If you can see things out of whack, then you can see how things can be in whack." On behalf of the board and staff of the National Guild, I'm delighted to honor Carol Ross with the Guild's 2020 National Service Award.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for that kind introduction. Alas, in these extraordinary times, I only see you all as faces on a screen or names on a list, but I do know we are all together today applauding the Guild. I am really thrilled and honored and somewhat amazed to be selected as this year's recipient of the National Guild Service Award. I join an extraordinary group of past honorees, which only contributes to my feelings of humility and modesty. Growing up in my hometown of Lexington, Massachusetts, I could not have imagined one day receiving any award, much less one from an organization that I love and respect as much as the Guild. An organization that provides exceptional leadership support and inspiration to individuals, institutions, and communities throughout this nation. The Guild has, for 83 years, changed lives for the better, and it certainly has changed mine. Although this is a personal award, I must say categorically that it comes as a result of dedicated teamwork over the years, involving hardworking, bright, creative, and even heroic professionals on the staff, on the boards past and present, and in the membership of the Guild. They have always encouraged my participation, supported my suggestions, and improved upon my ideas. It has been exciting to be part of this dynamic association, to address common challenges, and to explore new innovations in the field. As I mentioned, I grew up in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. My parents provided me with piano lessons, and my school supplied me with an abundance of arts activities. The arts were not an illusory value or a frivolous curiosity, however. They were essential, and there was a tacit understanding that the differences between people, racial, cultural, and economic, could be breached by the commonality of culture and the arts. Now, fast forward from my youthful naivete, 30 or 40 or even 50 years, and what I completely took for granted became something that I worked to build and sustain across the country. The arts provided me with a landscape and a path upon which I have trod, and the Guild became my fulcrum, my pivot point, my hub. As a trustee of a settlement music school in New Haven, Connecticut, I had known a bit about the Guild. Our board valued its membership in the organization, used its services, and enjoyed the community of peer institutions that it provided. We turned to the Guild for thoughts on institutional planning, for salary benchmarks, for insights that helped us recognize and identify areas of possible change. But it was not until I attended my first conference in Chicago in 2003 that I began to understand the importance, the critical nature of the Guild. This was a time of leadership change for the organization. Jonathan had just assumed the helm minutes before the conference began, and from my perspective, there was a lot of turmoil, noise, tension, and upheaval swirling around. This intrigued me. I grew up with Bob Dylan and heard his call. Come gather round people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changin'. Change was the buzzword at the Guild. When I was invited to join the Board of Trustees in 2004, I kept my eyes wide, I heeded the call, I picked up my pen, and I jumped in, knowing full well that the reaction of an organization's response to change and its implementation of new initiatives, new traditions, and new programs can be the very measure of its success. We live in a world where the one constant is change. But how we respond to that change, how we balance time-honored traditions with new explosive ideas, how we build solid frameworks for the future that are grounded in the past and reflective of the present is challenging and crucial. Over the past few decades, and amplified during these past few years, we have all seen demographic shifts, extreme economic fluctuations, political upheaval, systematic racism. We have experienced the excitement but also the demands of new technology, of living in a virtual world. We have been asked to be accountable, sustainable, and adaptable. The Guild has blazed the way. It has schooled us in leadership and provided forums for considered and valued discussion. It has shown us the advantages that come from my diverse and dynamic membership. By posing the right questions, its programs increased, its resource center expanded, its new strategic collaborations helped to amplify its message. Its members became less individually centric and more community centric. The Guild played a central role in the national discussion on arts and arts education. While occasionally someone might advise that it would be easier and less risky for the Guild to do nothing, to maintain its status quo, to shy away from the vagaries and whims of the moment, the seemingly exhausting, chaotic, unproductive trends that are forever assaulting us, the Guild recognized that opportunities exist for an organization that takes the time to explore new ideas, why pitfalls might befall those who simply remain static. I have watched and supported the Guild as it built and fostered a climate for innovation, as it supported and promoted research that is impactful, as it trained and developed leaders who are dynamic, knowledgeable, forceful, erudite, amazing advocates for the field. I could continue to laud the remarkable achievements that I have seen in the past 20 years, but perhaps I should stop for a moment. I should flip the coin and trumpet what has not changed and what has been preserved. The Guild recognized that challenges can be met most successfully when they are grounded in continuity. The Guild is clear about its mission. It draws its strength from staying true to its guiding principles. The National Guild maintains an intimate connection with a long and continuous tradition of excellence, with a commitment to quality and accountability in arts education, with a philosophy that involvement in the arts should be lifelong. It embraces the belief that participation in the arts not only enriches, inspires, and empowers individuals, but also adds strength and vitality to communities. So I have come full circle today, back to my first forays into the arts and to the two basic truths that my parents passed down to me, truths that the Guild preserves and promotes. 1, the arts provide skills that last forever. And 2, people involved in arts education are learning things far beyond the art that they study. They are developing a language for their emotions, and by learning that language, by developing those skills, and by embracing that medium, they have gained a vocabulary that allows them to convey their deepest feelings, their true conversations, their humanity, and their soul. As Louise Gluck, the recipient of this year's Nobel Prize in Literature, said, "Art finds a way to speak itself." Indeed, it is almost Delphic in its force. These are the truths that were part of my childhood, and they continue to provide steadfastness to my days. They propel me into the future. Jonathan suggested, recommended, and encouraged me to stay within a time limit today, hinting that conciseness and succinctness would be appropriate and welcomed. But with my usual verbosity, I have doubtless exceeded my time allotment. So with haste, I leave you with one small bit of advice. Keep humming Bob Dylan. Once again, this is a time of change at the Guild that requires new energy and new dynamics. But all will resolve itself successfully if you keep channeling the same old songs. Because with incredible skills, with incredible flexibility, with incredible nimbleness, the Guild knows how to do change. And finally, let me end with a quotation, not one from a president or an educator or a Nobel laureate, my usual sources of inspiration, but from the Bard of Avon, William Shakespeare. As Sebastian says to Antonio in Twelfth Night, so I say to you all, I can no other answer make, but thanks, and ever thanks.